We're all set.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
So we're ready for me to call us to order. Before we get started, I'd like to do our ethics reminder. In accordance with the State Government Ethics Act, it is the duty of every board member to avoid both conflicts of interest, appearance of conflict. And now we go to public comment. Is there any public comment?
I unmuted a participant now. Give them about 30 seconds.
Okay.
We'll see if they. So my system is showing an error in unmuting the participant. I'm going to email her a direct link to the Zoom and see if she has wants to join the Zoom for public comment. Is that okay with the board? I would hate
Yes.
for a technical issue to prevent public comment.
That's okay with me.
While we get these technical difficulties started or solved, a solve could be to amend the agenda to move public comment a little bit later. That would move things along and give our participant a chance to pivot.
Okay.
Do we need a motion for that?
I make a motion that we move public comment to later in the meeting.
I second.
Do we have any nays or everybody in agreement?
Yes.
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 Right. We will move public comment to later in the meeting. So we're going to move on to, we need to approval of the minutes from the January 9th, 2025 meeting. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion to
So
approve.
move.
Second.
All in agreement? Any non-agreements? All right. Those meetings are approved. Thank you, guys. We're gonna move on to a director's report.
Okay, thanks, Justice. Good to see everybody. Hope you're all doing well. I have some updates to share with you in a few different categories, general operations, programming, facilities, and then I have just one item of particularly interesting note that I want to share with everybody. So to start with general operations, as we talked about in the last meeting, we did transition our schedule to a temporary modified operational schedule at 6 of our 12 locations. That took effect on January 25th. And that was necessary due to the ongoing hiring freeze and the high number of vacancies in our department. We don't have an end date yet for that hiring freeze, but I can tell you that there are conversations already happening with county leadership about how to best prepare for hiring positions once that hiring freeze is lifted. We know having more than 10 vacancies in our department, not counting our temporary library substitutes, that it'll have to take a phased approach. So we've been asked to identify our highest priority positions to hire first, and we'll likely move through that with a staggered approach. So keep our fingers crossed that the hiring freeze will ease up sooner rather than later. And it is still absolutely our plan to transition back to a full schedule for all of our locations once we are able to fill those vacancies. That's been a concern that I've consistently heard from community members who are worried that the locations that had hour reductions would just wind up staying on those schedules. And I just want to continue to reassure everybody that that is not the plan and has never been part of the plan. We have always intended that this would just be a temporary measure to get us through this hiring freeze. Yes, sir.
Before you leave this subject, I'm wondering if there's been any analysis or learnings from, the reduction in hours at those branches, maybe rotating those reductions in other places. What kind of traffic flow have we seen in the organizations, the buildings that are open? What kind of, sounds like you're getting some feedback. What kind of complaints or concerns you're hearing?
Yeah, so we're still kind of in the early stages there. We are now working with our department's assigned analysts from the county strategy and innovation department to take a closer look at all of our different metrics and our data measures. One of the things we've talked about is that as we emerge from the hiring freeze and into next fiscal year, this could present an opportunity for us to make some different decisions with operations. And so we'll be looking at that data. We've got just over a month of door count data and circulation data to analyze. So absolutely, I don't have any conclusions to draw from that yet, but we will definitely be looking at it. The complaints have mostly slowed down. I mean, I think people made their dissatisfaction pretty well known. I know that the county commissioners heard a lot about it. And then shortly after the library news is when the news came out about the impact of the school budgets. And so that kind of overshadowed everything going on with the libraries. We still get the occasional email, or I'll get phone calls from patrons, just more asking, like, hey, when will the library be back open? Or why is my branch closed on Tuesdays? So there seems to be less anger about it. It gives me an opportunity for each person that I talk to or respond to reinforce the idea that this really is temporary. So we are as eager to move out of the modified schedule as the community is to see us move out of that, for sure.
Sometimes when things like this happen, there could be some important lessons learned, some opportunities uncovered as you get the feedback, the analysis, the partnerships with various schools that near to those libraries. So could be a learning opportunity despite, of course, the loss of those hours.
Absolutely. Justice.
How has the library closures affected any of our programs or groups that do things after hours? To have like meetings that before they would meet, when the library was closed. Are those things still continuing?
Yeah, so there is less availability at the locations that have closed days. we do still allow locations or community groups to come in, and if they are looking to use a community room beyond the hours that the library is open, we still have a method for folks to do that into the evening, since only some of our locations have a late evening right now. But there's definitely been an impact there, and that's one of the reasons too that as we consider future operational decisions, one of the things that'll be in the mix there to talk about is a different distribution of evening hours. What might that look like? Instead of having every location on Tuesdays, could we do something that sees more than one night per week, and that would help spread out the availability of meeting rooms across the county.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Lena.
I just have two things. The first is I want to give a big shout out to the Oakley Library, which is my right up the street branch. They've managed, it's felt like they haven't cut any programs, and that they've still been doing quite a lot. So they've taken that in stride, and I just want to say that out loud in a public space. And then the second one would be, I would be really interested, if this kind of data is available, to hear door count for those libraries that are at 3 days, versus like how many they were seeing when they were at full hours, just to see, because it feels, again, my local branch is Oakley. We do go to all of them, but we go to Oakley most often. It feels like they're still seeing the same number of people, and I hope that is very true, that they're still able to meet the needs of the people who are usually there.
Thank you for shouting out the Oakley branch. Our system-wide folks have made adjustments so that they were shifting when their programs would happen, and we know that Oakley in particular is just beloved by its community there, and the programs there are really important and meaningful to those folks. We can definitely put a look at data and library use trends on the next Library Advisory Board meeting. When we get to May, that we will have had a few more months of total data to look at. So if that's something you all are interested in, we can prepare a report about that. I'd be glad to share that.
Yes.
Cool.
Thank you.
All right. Next operational update comes with some bittersweet news. Sherry Roan, the manager of our West Asheville Library, retired last Friday on March 7th. We wish her the very best in her retirement. Sherry has done a remarkable job building a really solid team there, and a library branch that is just deeply engaged with its community, that is welcoming and inclusive to everyone. Of course, all of our libraries are that way, but at West in particular, they just do a fantastic job of welcoming that entire community. And as you know, with the hiring freeze in place, we're not able to fill that vacancy right now, but thankfully, Anna Borum, the manager at our Leicester branch, has agreed to do double duty. So she is helping out with management of the West branch and Leicester. This made sense for us and for Anna because as part of our staffing reassignments, one of her regular staff members is assigned to work at West on Tuesdays when Leicester is closed. So there's kind of some natural overlap and continuity there. That is a priority position for us to try and get hired as soon as we can, but we're grateful to Sherry for setting up a smooth handoff, and to Anna for being willing to help steer the ship during this interim period. On the programming side, good news. As Lena pointed out, our branches are programming and folks are coming in and excited about library programming. We remain committed to offering our full slate of youth services programming across the system. And one particular program that's geared toward youth and families was recently the recipient of an award from the North Carolina Public Library Directors Association. That's the Reading Mentors program at the Inca Candler Library. Received the 2024 Large Library System Program of the Year Award, which we are thrilled about. To tell you a little bit about Reading Mentors, that program was created by the Youth Services Librarian at Inca Candler, Kate Spratt, and the branch manager, Aaron Parcells. And Reading Mentors invites different men from the community to help present a story time with Kate. And the idea is to demonstrate that men read, and positive male role models, which are often lacking in the early childhood community, something that we can engage with and demonstrate and show children and families that reading is important, and the men in their community are readers and they love books and they love sharing books with the community too. So that's been a really exciting program. They've had some fantastic guests, and unfortunately, because of our budgetary constraints, we aren't able to travel to the next NCPLDA meeting coming up in New Bern to receive the award. But Aaron and Kate are planning an appropriate celebration there at the Inca Candler Library next month. So delighted that this is the first NCPLDA award that our library system has received during my tenure. I was one of the reading mentors at the start of the program, and it was a fantastic experience. So check it out if you get a chance. We're just really proud of our team and hoping that this is an opportunity for us to continue finding ways to tell our library story, to find ways to get recognition for the staff and their programs. We all know this has been a tough year. We've got multiple challenges going on, but it's a great reminder to our staff and to community members, to our county leadership, that the library team is doing amazing, meaningful, impactful work every day. So we're not in it for the awards, but we will certainly take the award with pride and a smile on our face. Another good programming note is that the wildly popular Zoom Pass program, which has been on hold since Helene, will be resuming next month. I don't have the exact date to announce because we're kind of soft rolling it amongst the staff, but it was initially on pause in the wake of Helene, as so many of our community partners were unable to receive visitors and the library had an extended closure. It's also the same time when we found out that the vendor for the ticketing software was going out of business with basically no notice. So this has given us a chance to identify a new vendor. Special thanks to Tammy Silver and Jesse Figuera, who have done great work to evaluate vendors and platforms and then work through Buncombe County's internal multiple layers of internal approval required to get a new platform going. So very soon we will be offering Zoom passes to the public again. We're delighted about that. Excuse me. Moving on to some facility notes. So ongoing facility challenge for us, Weaverville Library. There, you may recall that their lower level basement, which is home to their programming space, suffered some water damage. It hasn't reopened yet, but it is still on track to have that basement level restoration complete by the summer, so that when summer reading is in full swing, they can resume doing programs and having group activities down there. In the meantime, Meredith, the youth services librarian there, has been doing some off-site programs. But it's always a challenge. Space is at a premium for all of our branches, so we look forward to Weaverville having their full building back. Along similar lines, for different reasons, the meeting room at the Fairview Branch Library also continues to be unavailable because it is serving as a disaster recovery center. So FEMA folks have been there. One kind of cool thing is that the library staff at Fairview have had opportunities to connect with FEMA staff and other contract workers who've been there, get temporary library cards, help them find items on Libby or in the collection to use. So it's been a cool opportunity. They've also really found ways to program within the library space proper and not have access to the meeting room. So we celebrate their resiliency and flexibility in continuing to make things work there at their branch. Something else that we're celebrating, and I don't want to steal Kay's thunder, excuse me, but it is thanks to the Trust Fund for Buncombe County Public Libraries and the Friends of North Asheville Library. Our North Asheville branch is about to have an interior refresh. That branch is about to celebrate 20 years, and I would say it's new building. It's not really new anymore, but 20 years in its current facility. And outside of the meeting room, which was redone a few years ago, the building still has all its original paint and carpet. So with an $81,000 contribution from the Friends and the Trust Board, the building will be fully painted and recarpeted. It'll be closed starting on April 15th through May 9th. A few folks have asked why the lengthy closure. All of the shelves have to basically be disassembled and unloaded and the entire collection moved. And to kind of give us some long-term flexibility, the carpeting is being done like a full square footage carpeting job, not a cutting around the shelving. So we're not, if we ever get to a future point and want to change the layout there, move some shelves around, we're going to have big chunks of missing carpet. So they're doing it the right way. The downside is that it's going to be closed for about a month, but we are so excited and appreciative of the Friends and the Trust Board for funding this and helping push it through. We weren't at the point yet on the county's regular refurbishment schedule that North would have been ready to have this work done. So this will lead to just a better experience, a brighter environment, and just kind of a refreshed outlook for everybody, the staff and the patrons at North. And my interesting note that I promised, I just think this is super cool. We talk so much about the library as a part of local government, but it's really cool to find out that Buncombe County Public Libraries has a worldwide reach. Recently, we had a family that had relocated from Asheville to Australia, and they renewed their out-of-county Buncombe County Library cards so that they could continue to use our, our digital library from Australia. And our branch manager, Cheryl at Oakley, who keeps track of that, also let us know, excuse me, also let us know that we've had out-of-county cards from Portugal and Bosnia. So folks all over the globe are making use of Buncombe County Public Libraries, which is fantastic. And I just thought that was a cool item to pass along and share with you all this evening. And that is everything I've got on my director's report.
Well, thank you, Jason, for giving us all that wonderful and amazing information. And that's really awesome that our library is being used worldwide. That's pretty cool. Up next is our trust fund for Buncombe County Public Libraries presentation by Ms. Kay Wall. She is the chair of our trust board in the library, our Buncombe County Library Trust Board, and she's a really wonderful person. So I will give it up to Ms. Kay.
Okay, thanks, guys. Yeah, I'm Kay Wall. I know several of you, and some of you I haven't met, but it's good to get a chance to talk with you. I'm also a former person on the Library Advisory Board, and a librarian, but I'm retired. So what I wanted to do is just give you a handful of pieces of information and give you a chance if you need to and want to ask me something, because I thought the North Asheville thing might bring up some questions, and I'll want to fill in those holes. First of all, the Trust Fund Board is a group of 4 elected individuals and 3 appointed individuals, and we serve rotating terms. The 4 elected individuals are kind of whatever, but the other 3 appointed ones are the Friends of the Library appoints a person, Library Advisory Board, so Justice is on there as well, and then of course the director of the library system. So we meet quarterly, but we do a lot of work in between our meetings. And let me give you a little bit of history just so you kind of have a general idea. The trust fund was established in the late 1970s with a group of people and some major bequests to the library system. And they did this in terms of establishing a trust. And I only know enough to be dangerous, so don't kill me. But once, when the Library Advisory Board that exists now that you're on went dormant back a few years ago due to some legislative issues, the Friends of the Library had some comings and goings too. There was not a quorum for the Trust Fund Board to meet. So after probably, and I guess it would be the late 80s, 90s, it basically kind of just sat there. And the trust itself is a resource that is managed currently through the Community Foundation of Western North Carolina. So the assets that are there, the cash assets, are in a place managed. We are a 501c3, and we have all those appropriate fiduciary responsibilities. That what we do is administer the trust once we were reconstituted, and our main goal is to enhance or increase the opportunities that Buncombe County Public Libraries makes for its citizens. We are, what we are not is we are not a substitute for the county taking care of, what the library needs for basic resources. We come alongside the library, and we have a, you know, our endowment is close to right now about, it's less than $1 million right now. We have, and what we do is we get requests from the Buncombe County Public Library System through Jason, but to us. And then we award these resources. And we really started this reactivation close to 2019. And when we did in 2019, we started trying to, you know, lay the foundation again. We didn't have any documents. We didn't have any policies, procedures, and so forth. And that was before I actually came on to the trust fund board. So there was a lot of background and foundational work that occurred to try to figure out what are we supposed to be doing and how do we do it. So that's been a lot of the work. Some of the grants that we have awarded, and what I'll actually just call them awards right now. We award resources for applicants from Buncombe County Public Libraries to go to library school or to continuing education. And we have done a lot of those now. I guess it's 4 or 5. So people have been able to, that have made the commitment and want to be part of the library system and to stay, that we have, we've paid their school stuff so they could go to school and get their library degrees. And that's been hugely rewarding. We've also done some other things in terms of certificates for specialized training that enhance the library as well. I'm thinking, I can't remember all the bits and pieces, but we've done some of that. Then the other things we've done is support professional development for the libraries with Professional Development Day. We were a partner with the One Buncombe program and provided resources for that as well. We've done, and we did recently the Decodable Books, which is available through all the library, to all the, you know, all the different branches. One that was Jason mentioned was the North Asheville Library Refresh. And that is the first thing close to a capital outlay, I would call it, for lack of a better word. And part of that money was actually in the trust, was already allocated or earmarked for North Asheville years ago. So we also act on what other agreements were within the trust if it was a specific thing that you had to support. The bequest was for people with disabilities or materials to support, you know, whatever. And that happened to be that there were funds in there that had been established a long time ago for North Asheville in terms of furnishings. So just to say, we still don't see ourselves as being a substitute for what the county needs to be doing, but we come alongside to try to either make sure that we help and we do what we can. Couple of last pieces. The trust fund board, we've started to, you know, we spin our wheels because, you know, building a foundation takes a long time to know what it is you want to be doing and should be doing. And we're now trying to work on kind of the next, I would call them the next steps. We have strategic planning work that we started working on as to how do we grow? How do we communicate who we are to our citizenry and potential people that might want to give money? We'd love to have that. And so how do we create paths for it? Communicating to the public as to who this is, what they do, and how their funds are used. Then the other part is how do we then start to grow this? Because if you think about it, you don't spend all your eggs all at one time. Well, goodness knows, I guess eggs are just about as close to what we have in the endowment. But what we want to do is look at how we judiciously support, and to do that, we need to grow the endowment. So we're actually starting to work on our phases toward fundraising, and that's the scary part because I don't feel very good about doing that. I'm not very capable. Let's see. So in the last little bit, the other thing that Justice and Julie Nowinski, who is the chair of the Big Friends of the Libraries, have been doing is we're starting a process of looking where do we need to create our alliances? How do we need to define what our lanes are? Because Library Advisory Board is very much about advocacy, but how do we all three, these three pieces, these three strands work together to be able to support the libraries better? So actually, Justice and Julie and I have a meeting coming up, and we're going to try to talk about how do we do that. The Friends of Libraries, the support is in some libraries branches, it's really big and good, and then some it's not as good. And we also want to make sure that what we do is as an equalizer for some of that as well, as to how we support in general terms what the libraries need. So we're looking at trying to strategize as to how we can get the message out and how we can encourage support for the libraries. So that's my spiel, and I'm sticking to it. But I'm happy to take any questions or things you want to ask about or comment on as we start working. I know that Friends have very specific ways that they fund. I call it almost like an annual fund where it's smaller dollars and those kinds of things. We're hoping that we can build bigger dollars in bigger paths through and using the community foundation as our financial vehicle to manage our money and continue to do that. So I'm open to questions.
Kay, thank you so much for your leadership there. I think that professional development component is so important, and thank you for supporting that. My question is, where is most of the funding coming from now? Is it private donations? Is it grants? Is it a combination?
The funding itself is pretty much been there. There's several major bequests. I think Sonley was one of the original bequests, if I'm not mistaken, but there were some larger bequests, and really it sat stagnant. So in terms of earmarked or specialized descriptive areas in the trust fund, there's not a lot of that. So we think we would really want to try to work toward broad-based ideas, and yet maybe we think of some really cool targeted ideas. You know, what are some opportunities over time that we could really go after and grow them? But there are not as many earmarked funds that are especially large. It's pretty much a general lump sum there, and then we respond to our only client and customer, which is the library. No one, you know, we don't do anything with anybody else. So does that answer your question, Leanne? Okay.
Thank you so much.
We will, and we have our upcoming meeting. Well, Justice and we're meeting sometime, but before April 3rd, I know, because April 3rd is our next board meeting, and Justice is there to represent the Library Advisory Board and also to take back information to you. So feel free to ask questions. And I'll be honest with you, I've had to learn a lot about what it is we do and how we do it. We have important fiduciary responsibilities to make sure that we are managing funds on the up and up. We don't, we are very careful and mindful that this money is not our money, but we work really closely with Jason, and we listen for what are ideas and things we might be able to be a part of. We've done the last little bit of grants. We said it was close to $80,000, almost $100,000 in the last 2+ years. Since 2022, we really got off the ground and started doing a lot. And we probably will be a little bit slacking off this year, a little bit more as we get our foundation ready. Like, we don't have a website. We gotta get somebody to do that. We don't have the communication tools we need to then take this to the streets. So that's kind of where we are this year. We'll be somewhat limited there as we get things really laid out there. So that's kind of where we are. And Jason has my contact info, and I'll stick it in. Well, Tammy has it too. I don't know if I want to put it.
I have another question along with the website
Mhm.
issue that you mentioned, and this would be maybe for Jason or one of the attorneys. Would it not be kosher for them to have a page on the public library website?
What we're going to do is put a link to us from there. So I think that that's the kind of thing
Okay.
we're looking at, because yeah, that's we feel like that's an awkward thing
seems-
for them to be, but it won't, it's just a matter of getting it done and
Letting
we'll
it-
get it
okay.
done.
But it seems appropriate to me, but I
Mhm.
don't have legal background or
The trust fund isn't part of the county.
right.
Right.
So,
So they, yeah, but we can put other resources. The other one we want to do is the Community Foundation of Western North Carolina has all these things listed on it. And our
yes.
name is there, but there's nothing behind it. So
Okay.
that's a biggie for us. And it's just, it's not a bunch of sophisticated pages. It's who we are, what we do, do you want to,
How to donate.
and how to donate and so forth. So
Okay.
that's where we are.
Thank you.
Well, thanks, y'all. So if you do have questions, you can either shoot Justice a question and he'll get with me. And it's good to see all of y'all. Those of you I know, Jamie, I've never met you, but it's good to see you too. So y'all take it easy, and I'm gonna leave the meeting if that's okay. That's my supper break.
Okay.
Take care, y'all.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
As we move on, do we want to revisit the public comment at this time?
I did share that Zoom link and a call-in feature to Zoom to our virtual participants email we have on file. I haven't heard a response, and I also haven't seen them come into the waiting room. So at this point, they might have just wanted to listen to the meeting rather than stream it. But I did send that link along, and it looks like they haven't taken advantage of it. And like I said at the beginning, some people register on our Engage page to attend, and there's not really a delineation between registering to attend and registering to speak.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. We're going to move on to our new business. Is there any new business? And new
Jason-
business.
Jason, when you were talking about the mentoring program and the award, do
Mhm.
press releases go out to like WLOS and Citizen Times? Because that should really be publicized.
Yeah. So once the award is officially conferred, the NCPLDA usually will send out a release.
Oh, good.
But you're thinking the same thing we are, because Angelica messaged me a few minutes ago to say, hey, make sure that we get this information over to communications so that they can do an article about it and issue a release. And my boss had already mentioned that he wants to make sure that the commissioners are aware, because we want to celebrate the good news. So yeah, we will take a multi-pronged approach to make sure that the word gets out about this.
Great, thank you.
Hey, Jason, when was the date of that award ceremony again?
I have to look at my calendar. It's in April, in New Bern, which is the spring meeting for NCPLDA. So I don't have the exact date right now.
Okay. Is that something that like a advisory board member or somebody can go and receive on behalf of the library board system?
That's a good question. I am not sure. I can find out.
If you could, I would volunteer myself to go to be a representative too, because I would love to have someone there to do that, since we're, I would volunteer myself to go and pick that award up, and if anyone else is free, they're more than welcome to carpool and drive down with me to do that. If it's something that can happen.
Okay. I'll check in and follow back up with you. I'll send you an email.
in the
Yeah.
new business, this is the opportunity for us to, like, if we have any ideas or questions or anything like that, because I do have something that I wanted to talk to our advisory board about. You know, in the wake of Helene, you know, our library here in Swannanoa was instrumental in being a community hub for, you know, the disaster area and for the community. And one of the things, I was at a few meetings, was people were asking if our library systems could become like a disaster center support system, where, you know, we house or have items that could support the community in ways that give them a center hub of, like, communication, food, water, internet service, social, and any kind of communication opportunities, and just a place where everyone knows that, like how FEMA is serving in some of our libraries, meeting rooms, and because they did that for a while in Swannanoa until they transitioned out. And I've had a lot of people come up to me and ask about that, and I told them I would bring it to our next meeting. So that's what I'm doing.
I can actually speak about that a little bit. And I'm glad you mentioned it, because I've had a lot of conversations about how this situation with Helene, you know, something that we never could have prepared for and had never faced before. And how, looking back, you know, it really kind of hurts my heart that the libraries took so long to reopen. And I understand why operational decisions had to be made by county management and staff were redeployed. So one of the follow-up conversations I've been having and will continue to have is how the library can be part of that initial response. And so we have a lead person with Buncombe County who's serving as our kind of recovery officer. We've had an initial conversation as well. You know, if a future disaster were to happen, that might look like, instead of library staff being immediately dispersed to other assignments, some of them would still be assigned to the library so that we could be part of that initial response. They're also looking at the idea of some of the libraries being equipped in a way that make them like community resiliency hubs, so that if power and water and internet all were to go offline, the library would have, you know, power backup and the ability to still be open, and satellite internet, and the types of things like we saw right after Helene. Pack Library still had internet and the Wi-Fi was on, and there are pictures of people crowded outside the door. I just saw a picture the other day that Jamie pointed me to of folks who'd set up a little folding table outside of the West Asheville branch because they needed a place to do their work, and there was internet. So what kind of lessons can we take from recent events to figure out how the library can be better woven into the community response? But like, I absolutely am on board with finding a way to make sure that we are part of that initial response. Again, I understand, I'm not questioning or doubting why the operational decisions were made by county leadership, but I'm glad this gives us an opportunity to talk about how we can be more integrated into that response from the jump.
Hey, Jason, kind of to that point, I don't know, do any of the libraries have solar panels? And part of this is, of course, connected to Duke Energy goes out, everything goes out.
Mm-hmm.
I know downtown was still powered up, but you know, the other branches, that might be something. Not only there's learning opportunities there with renewable energy, but also that independence with battery backup, that kind of thing. Something just to put on the radar screen.
Yes, several branches do have solar panels. And so one of the things that we're already talking about is, could they be equipped with like a battery backup system that would store some of that power and help the branch continue to operate even if the power grid went down?
It occurs to me there could be, even in this atmosphere, federal funding grants that could pay for that, or even from Duke.
Yeah, so that coordinated recovery effort that is happening from county management, they've recently set up a portal for county department directors to like go in and submit ideas, so that we can have one place to gather recovery ideas, and they can pursue funding opportunities and grants and make sure that we're not make sure everybody is not out there seeking their own projects individually, but we can do it all on the same page. I think that the library, some version of a library as a resiliency hub, is definitely one of those ideas.
Hey, Artie, I have an answer to that question. We actually use solar power at the library. Sundance Solar Power, which is a agency here in Buncombe County, is owned by Dave Hollister. They had a organization that came, a bunch of guys got together and created this portable solar panel system, and they brought it to Swannanoa, and they bought 10 panels, a portable solar hub, and a backup battery. And it also came with a mini fridge that you could use. And because, the library systems were closed at the time, and they wanted someone to, see if they could put it on the roof. And I said, no, I don't think we can do that. So they bought it, and it literally can charge phones, power refrigerators, but it was a test program that, and they used it in our neighborhood too, where it could literally, the system that we had here, it could power your refrigerator, lights, anything that you really needed for your dailies. Now, it couldn't power your whole house, but if it had a really good solar window, it could really charge. And if you had a generator would power it so that it could make sure the batteries stay charged. So you might be able to power even more items. But we used it mainly for our community cell phone recharge system. If anyone had any food or like perishable food that they needed to store, in all of the any internet, or using your cell phones or laptops or anything like that. So so I could get that information for us if we need to share that with the county to maybe create contracts and look out. But it was through Sundance Solar Power is the company that initiated it and brought it to our attention here in Swannanoa. And so it was a really useful tool that they talked about, and it was done by, I think, 4 or 5 different guys in that field that created this portable system. And at our next meeting, I could share some more information. I'll share it with Jason, and then see where it goes from there. But it was just exactly what you were talking about that we used here in Swannanoa. Any other new business?
So I have one more comment about that. Solar is a great idea. There's also a very large electrical company that employs about 1,500 people in Asheville, including myself and my husband, that sells uninterruptible power supplies, UPSs. I feel like my husband's going to walk in here and be like, why are you talking about my thing? But they already do a lot of work. Like, they're a major partner for United Way, and are always looking for ways to make their giant global corporation look good. So that could be, I realize we may be far down the road from that, but that could be another route to look into. Their response to the hurricane was quite good.
The other thing about that I found really fascinating is that the panels were easy. Like I hooked it up myself. It was so simple. Once he came out and showed me how to do it, I was like, man, you could put this in neighborhoods, like, you know, at a central place if they, you know, and if it was really easy to set up. And once they came out and showed you, like, I guess what they call your solar window, or where you could, because at one point they said we didn't really have a good one because of all the trees, but I guess once the trees are falling down, it opened up a really good solar window in our area. And so that was something that I think it gives us a really great opportunity to utilize the importance of our libraries in a way that, because they're everywhere in Buncombe County, and it would be a really wonderful way for us to like keep libraries open too, so that people are like seeing the true importance of community and what the libraries really mean to our community. It's just not books and things like that, because there was a lot of they developed mental health programs too during this opportunity, and now Swananoa is doing a program where they have someone come in to help with if you have any mental health stuff. So that's a new program going on right now at our Swananoa Library, starting soon, and that's and it's just a great opportunity for us to expand the interests and growth of our library system.
One of the things it's not uncommon to hear when we're talking about budget is that the libraries aren't a mandated service. And, you know, we know that the county is not like statutorily obligated to operate a library system. But for so many people, as we saw in the aftermath of Helene, we absolutely are an essential service for them. You know, internet access and connectivity, which was so drastically cut off for so many people, that basically is like a core utility for everyday life now. And the fact that some of our libraries were able to stay online through Helene and immediately provide hotspot access to people, even though they were outside our doors, I think is a really big indicator of the type of role that we could play in the future if we face this type of challenge. And I'm glad that county leadership has opened the door for having these conversations about how the library's role can evolve. Because to Justice's point, and as you all definitely understand, we're far more than just books and materials, you know, gathering point, community hub, a place for resources to be distributed, so many different ways that we can serve the community. If heaven forbid we ever have another disaster like this. So that conversation absolutely will continue.
And thank you, Jason. I mean, seriously, I really want to give you a big, because without you allowing us to keep the library open, it would, none of this would have happened. And trusting in our community to honor and take care of our library and make sure, you know, it was really, and to see how people really took care, like coming in the library and reading books and putting them back on the shelf, knowing they can't check them out. And then even like people coming and returning all our library books, it was just like our book thing was full, where people just, you know, come back in, and it was just beautiful to see the community engagement of how really important it is. And it took something like this to show our communities that our libraries are a major resource, an opportunity to keep our community growing and developing and creating more and more new opportunities for it to be the vessel that it is to all of us here in Buncombe County. Well, if there's not any other new business, we are going to adjourn. And our next regular meeting is Thursday, May 8th at 6:30. And do I have, go ahead, Jason.
Yep. I was just going to say, TBD yet if that'll be a virtual meeting or in-person meeting, but we'll give you plenty of heads up on that.
So we are going to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Right.
Second.
All in agreement? Thank you guys for your time tonight. Thank you, Jason. Thank you to our communication department, our lawyer, and everyone that helps make our meetings function and allow the public to see what our advisory board is doing. Thank you, guys, and see you soon.